As more and more of the worldwide workforce shifts to a work-from-home setup, the question remains, do real estate firms still need offices? In this video, we'll discuss the pros and cons of offices for individual real estate agents, teams, and brokerages, with the goal of helping you decide if going virtual or maintaining a traditional office is the right fit for you. Stick around to the end and I'll tell you what I think the ideal office setup is for a large team, brokerages, and organizations. My name is David Tortellini, and I've been a real estate agent since 2010. I started my career at a very traditional company where every real estate agent was guaranteed a desk with no desk fee. Doesn't matter if you sold 1 home or 100 homes, you got a desk. The desk was free, but the splits were terrible. Then I went to Keller Williams, where only higher producing agents were given the option of renting a desk or an office, but for a fee. And since November of 2020, I've been at eXp Realty, which is a cloud-based brokerage that doesn't have any company-owned office space for agents. So I've been with brokerages that offer a variety of options and setups when it comes to offices. And I've spent a lot of time over the past few years thinking about and discussing the role that offices play in the real estate space. If this is your first time to the channel, take a quick second and subscribe so you can see all of my videos as I share with you what I've learned about real estate over the years. So first, my setup is, as I just mentioned, that I do have an office that I pay for. eXp doesn't have offices, but agents can lease their own space, and I lease an office from another agent who leased out a large wing in an office building. The entire purpose of my office right now is for this. It's basically just a YouTube studio. I don't have a dedicated space for it at home right now, so it's just easiest for me to keep it all here. If it wasn't for all this equipment, I don't think I'd need an office. Since my wife started working with me in the spring of 2022, we've found even less value in having an office. But she also won't let me convert the dining room into my YouTube studio. So there's that. But that's just me. Everyone has their own way of doing things. So let's jump right into the pros and cons of having an office as a solo agent. And once we've covered solo agent, we'll move on to teams and brokerages. Okay, let's start with the pros. The number one reason many agents head to the office every day is to get away from family and other distractions at home. Let's face it, for many of us, home is chaos, especially those with small children. Quiet, boundaries, what are those? It can be nearly impossible to get anything done with a little one constantly begging for your attention. And all parents know it's nearly impossible to say no. After all, what would you rather do? Play with your kid or call for sale by owners? Being at home also brings a whole slew of other distractions for those who are even just a little undisciplined. It's a nice day, I should take the dogs for a walk, or get that landscaping project done that I've been meaning to do. Or darn, this house could use a good vacuuming. I'll do that now, during business hours, because it seems productive. All these tasks that you would normally have to take care of on the evenings and weekends, you're suddenly able to do whenever you want. And it can be very easy to procrastinate on real estate work by doing at-home work. Having an office allows you to get away from these distractions and put yourself in an environment where real estate work is your sole priority. It's a place where you can focus on serving your clients and generating new ones without being pulled away by children, chores, and the calling of a beautiful day. So if you're the type of person who gets easily distracted at home, going into an office may be the right move for you. Next up is mentorship and live training. There's enough online real estate training right now that it would take you multiple lifetimes to watch it all. Access to information isn't the problem. The question is whether or not you absorb it well and if you're self-disciplined enough to watch it on your own. Now, you're watching this video on YouTube, so chances are you're a good online learner, but not everyone is. Or at least they don't think they are. There's something to be said for being able to sit down face-to-face with your mentor, trainer, team leader, and other agents floating around the office to have conversations and bounce ideas off of one another and get real-world feedback. Same goes with live training. There's no actual need for it anymore, but if you know you won't hold yourself accountable for showing up to an online training and you'll only attend if it's live, then going to an office with live training could make a lot of sense for you. This brings us to atmosphere and friendship. Even though we work with people all day, real estate can be a pretty lonely business. The time and dedication it takes to succeed in this industry often takes us away from friends and family, and causes us to miss a lot in our lives. And realtors, on average, are very social creatures. So the idea of being home alone all day just seems miserable to many, many agents. They get their energy from being around other people and love the interactions with the other agents at the office. It's really not uncommon at all for an agent's best friends to, over time, become mostly their coworkers. The largest number of agents I know who go to an office regularly don't go because they have big teams or lots of office supplies or big YouTube studios. They go to see their friends. It's as simple as that. The atmosphere at the office can be fun and engaging, and the only place where there are other people who really know the struggles of being a realtor. Another pro is access to office equipment. There are some basic things that most agents need in order to do their job well, like a copier or a stamp machine, maybe a paper cutter or paper folder. And they're all things that you can get at home. But for many agents, especially new ones, they're just too expensive or they just take up too much space. A nice printer can be pretty darn expensive if you want one that prints really high quality, really fast. You also might live in a small apartment or a house where you just don't have space for these sorts of things. Being part of an office where you can access them can be extremely important for many agents. If you fall into this group, then you may not need a dedicated desk, but access to a larger office could be very important for your development. An office also allows you to separate work from home, which can be really good for your mental health. Leaving work at work has been a problem for many real estate agents and families in all industries for decades. Now that just about every white-collar job can be done from home, people are having a harder and harder time separating their work life from their home life. I've been in dozens of homes over the past few years where a home office has been shoved into the corner of the family room or the master bedroom. And that's not what master bedrooms are for, if you catch my drift. In real estate, we have folders and listing presentations and buyer docs and pop-by supplies. So much stuff that can invade your house and make it feel more like a supply closet than a home. Having an office allows you to keep all those things away from your home life. There's something very important about the mental aspect of not having your work invade your home life, even if it's just visually. Having to look at work stuff can cause you to be mentally distracted and not present with the people around you. By only having access to these items at your office, it helps ensure that when you're home, you're focused on family or taking a break from this job that can be 24/7 if we allow it to. And sometimes it's nice to just have a workspace for putting together marketing materials. If your business is anything like mine, you do a lot of physical marketing. I'm a huge fan of pop buys and providing items of value to my sphere throughout the course of the year. But every one of our pop buys is like a small craft project times 50. The amount of material and surprise in each one literally fills up my whole office every time we put a round together. Not to mention signs and riders and lockboxes and boxes of swag I've had made over the years. It all takes up a ton of space, and if you don't have a dedicated office at home or sufficient storage, then having an office where you can store all this stuff and put together marketing materials is great. No one wants to turn their dining room into their pop-by room. Well, at least their spouse doesn't want that. Okay, now that we've covered the major pros of going into an office as an individual agent, let's take a look at some of the cons. Con number 1, you're going to lose focus due to distractions. That's right, distractions. Again, but this time from your coworkers. When you have an office, there are going to be agents who are mostly there just to hang out. They will eat up a lot of your time. A simple, hey, how was your weekend? Or did you catch the season finale of Succession? Can turn into 45 minutes of lost work time. So you have to know where your distractions are going to come from and put yourself in a position to minimize them. If you have a quiet house during the day, but the office is filled with non-real estate related conversations and things that take you away from spending your time as productively as possible, then going into an office may not be a good fit for you. Con number 2 is that you end up eating out a lot. And eating out can be expensive and unhealthy, and with groups of realtors, there's often alcohol involved. Are you the kind of person who will bring your lunch to work with you every day? If so, that's awesome. If not, and that's most of you, you're gonna end up eating out a lot. That means you're gonna spend a lot of money on food. Doesn't matter where you eat these days. Everywhere is expensive. Even like counter service places like Chipotle or Panera, they're going to cost you $12 to $20 per meal depending on where you live. And restaurants, even more. If you're selling a lot of homes and you can easily afford it, then it's no big deal. But if you're new or struggling right now, those $15 meals can really add up and put a dent in your bank account. Not to mention, most of the time, eating out is going to be less healthy than making your meals at home. Of course, there are ways to eat out and be healthy, but it's really easy to casually eat a whole bowl of chips and salsa while you wait for your chicken burrito salad bowl. Then there's alcohol. Plenty of real estate agents who love the social aspect of this industry will go out for drinks just about any day or any time of the week. It's easy to get pulled into this habit and have a few extra drinks throughout the week that you really don't need. Now, I'm not here to discipline everybody on their drinking habits, but you'll be hard-pressed to find truly productive, healthy people who drink often during the workday. Our next con is that having an office can be expensive. Unless you join a brokerage who offers a free office, and I can promise you they're making you pay for it some other way, like in your split, you're gonna have to pay for your office or a desk in an office. These costs can range wildly depending on brokerage and location. At my first firm, I was guaranteed a desk, but I also started on a 50-50 split, so I definitely paid for it. Then when I went to Keller Williams, I paid for a 3-desk office at $100 per desk, so $300 a month for my office. Now I have a 5-desk office at $75 per desk, so I'm spending $375 per month for my office. That's $4,500 a year. It's also the equivalent of around $60,000 in buying power towards a house. So you can shift that money in upgrading your own home, and of course you get all the long-term benefits of owning that office space if it's in your house. Con number 4, you waste time commuting. Driving to an office is a colossal waste of time. This might be the number one thing employees who have been able to work from home the past few years have realized. Any time you spend in your car, especially if you just listen to music, is a terrible way to spend your day. Of course, you can maximize that time making outbound phone calls or listening to podcasts and audiobooks to help you grow and get ready for the day. But if you have to drive 20 minutes to the office and 20 minutes back, that's 40 minutes you could have spent on your business in one way or another. And the final con of having an office is that your equipment or your notes are not always where you need them. Let's face it, no matter how much you say you're going to work exclusively from an office, this is real estate. You're going to work from home in some capacity. What's annoying about having your work life take place in 2 places is when you do something like leave all your notes from a new buyer consult in one location when you need them in another. Or you leave a tripod at the office because you're 100% sure you'll go back in the morning before you head out to make your next video. And then, of course, something happens and you don't have time to make it back to the office before you head out to film or to a showing or whatever. At the end of the day, having your stuff in 2 locations creates more opportunities for inefficiencies. And if all your stuff is at home, then it's in the location where you'll have the easiest access to it, and you're never turning around to go back to the office or the other location to grab one little thing that you desperately need. So those are the pros and cons of offices for agents. Now let's tackle teams and brokerages, who have to look at office space from a very different perspective. For teams and brokerages, a major pro can be dedicated space for collaboration. When you're running a team or a brokerage, in-person collaboration can go a long way to helping agents feel part of something bigger than themselves, and it keeps them motivated. Having the ability to bounce ideas off one another and handle issues quickly as they arise can be a major bonus of having a dedicated office, as long as everyone comes in and actually uses it. There's also those little conversations agents will have with each other about upcoming listings or problems they're having and getting feedback from friends at the office. These little conversations can amount to huge improvements in an agent's quality of work and their desire to stick around. Another huge pro is training space. A properly designed office also provides for training space. While virtual training is easy these days, as we discussed earlier, not everyone is there yet. Some people still really like learning in person. So if you're running a team or a brokerage and you know your agents aren't Zoom friendly, then having that office space to run trainings can be a huge help. We know that one of the top things agents, especially new agents, are looking for when selecting a brokerage is training. And having training on site usually will appeal to the largest number of agents in most markets. Our third pro is workspace to hold your agents accountable. If you run a team or a brokerage that has mandatory work tasks like daily lead gen, then it can be very hard to hold your agents accountable if they don't come into an office. While it would be great if this weren't true and that everyone naturally did their work when they were supposed to do it, that's just not reality. Now, I do know a huge team at eXp where every agent has to log into Zoom and do their daily lead gen in front of their computer every morning. And this allows the team leader to keep an eye on everybody and make sure they're getting their work done. But not everyone is going to want to do that. So if you want to be able to keep your agents on task and make sure they're spending their time doing the things they're supposed to do, then having them come into an office can oftentimes be the best way to do that. Our next pro is culture. This to me is the most important reason you should ever have an office as a team leader or broker owner, because so much hinges on it. I'm seeing a lot of brokerages winning just on culture right now. People are craving it. Having a place for agents to gather and spend time with one another and develop relationships is huge. Of course, you'll always have agents who don't care about this. But many agents aren't just looking for the broker with the best split or the one with the coolest tech. They want to spend their time around people they enjoy being with, people who motivate them and help them love their career and their brokerage. Agents want to be part of something bigger than just themselves. This is true for most people, not just realtors. It's part of our DNA as human beings to want to be a member of a collective, like a tribe. Having a physical office where people can gather and create relationships and build something bigger, that you really can't put a price on. Offices who create a winning culture will see significantly higher agent recruitment and retention than companies who are missing this piece. Now, can you create culture with a virtual brokerage? Absolutely. It's just going to be with a different type of agent than you may find who gravitates towards a physical brokerage office. These are going to have to be people who are willing to engage in online communities, Zoom trainings, Facebook and workplace groups. It may not seem like you live in an area where these people exist, but they do. You just have to go find them. And this leads to agent recruitment and retention. At the end of the day, these are what are important to you as a broker and a team leader. Agent recruitment and retention is the number one reason you get an office. Having a nice office for agents to walk into shows a level of professionalism and prestige that's undeniable. Providing them with resources or a private office for someone who needs it, along with in-person training, a place to meet with clients, and a home base for their business are all things that many agents are looking for when they join a brokerage. If they're new, they may really even think they need all those things, only to find out later that they don't. I mean, who even brings their clients into offices anymore? We all just go to coffee shops or breweries for all our appointments, or we just do them on Zoom. Or they could fall into the small percentage of agents who do actually need an office and use an office regularly, which will help with agent retention down the road. But regardless of whether or not they actually use it, agents will be drawn to a nice physical space. Recruiting and retention are the most important things you'll do to enhance profitability. So if you have to spend on an office, it could very well be a worthwhile investment. Now let's talk about the cons from a brokerage or a team leader perspective. Number one con is team members don't come in. If you're running a team and you rent a big office expecting your agents to come in, I'm here to tell you that unless you hold them accountable to coming in, they probably won't. Certainly not as much as you want them to. Schedule and location flexibility are two of the top reasons people get into real estate. So going into an office, especially for the type of people who join teams, isn't often something they generally want to do. Team agents need leadership. They need someone holding them to a standard that they generally don't hold themselves to. And in this industry where it's very easy to procrastinate, allow life to mix into our day a lot more than at a regular job, and not be disciplined with our in-office work, you'll find that unless you hold strict office hours, you may never see your team members. Now, if they're productive and they're still hitting their sales goals, then you may not care. But then the question arises, why are you paying for a big office if no one else is coming in and they're still producing? If that's the case, you may want to downsize and just run your team virtually. From a brokerage perspective, this can get even worse. It's one thing when you're running a team and you rent an office from your brokerage and you waste a few bucks. But it's a totally different animal when you're a brokerage renting a whole building or a space in an office complex or a plaza. Many brokerages are out there paying thousands, tens of thousands a month for a giant office that very few agents go into regularly. This can oftentimes be your biggest expense as a brokerage, and it's the biggest reason brokerages like eXp have moved to a cloud-based format. You'll have huge offices with dozens or even hundreds of agents at the office, with only a small percentage actually using it every single day. There may be agents renting space from you, but are they actually using it? When I was at KW, we had over 150 agents in our 12,000 square foot office. The place was huge. There might be a dozen agents along with their admin actually in the office at any given time. Some agents who had offices you might not see them for weeks at a time. So the question you have to ask yourself as a broker owner is, do we really need this much space, or can we still build a brokerage with a more efficient model? The cons of having an office aren't many, but they're major. An office can be a huge waste of money if it's not designed properly and utilized regularly. So that brings me to what I believe is the best office setup you can have for a large team, brokerage, or revenue share organization. The centerpiece of any modern office needs to be a large meeting room that can serve multiple functions. This room needs to be able to hold a large percentage of your organization and be used for regular trainings and culture building activities. It can also be used by agents to put together pop buys or other large projects that they can't handle at home. This will also be your floating space for agents who don't have a dedicated office and just need to pop in real quick to knock out some work. And this space will be for the vast majority of your agents. But make it a fun area. Have a couple of couches, a few standing desks, some standard tables. This space will function as the centerpiece of your office and will be where agents collaborate, socialize, and build culture. It needs to feel like an engaging, inviting space and not some boring classroom. Without this piece, you end up with a lot of closed-door offices where agents will get work done, but you'll be missing a huge piece that will drive your office's success. So make sure when you're looking for space, you start with this. Then I suggest having one office or a space somewhere dedicated to some cubicles or something similar, where you can give a dedicated, somewhat quieter workspace to agents who need something a little bit more formal but aren't ready for a full office. You know, the 2-day-a-week crowd. So if you can get 6 to 8 cubicles in a room, that's probably more than enough. In addition to, or probably in lieu of this space, you could consider a couple phone booths, which are basically like soundproof closets where someone can go in and make a private phone call without disturbing others. They don't take up too much space at all and can be a huge plus for the agents that don't want to take their calls in front of everybody else. Then you'll have several offices for just your absolute top agents. And I mean just the top agents that are in the office every single day. If they're not an absolute rock star who practically lives in their office, then they don't need one. You sell 100 houses, but you only come in 1 day a week? You don't get an office. This might mean you have just 2 or 3 offices, maybe a few more if you have a really large brokerage. These offices don't even need to be very big. Agents need to learn to declutter and make efficient use of space. You do not need to give an office space to everyone who asks for it. They really don't need it. Then I recommend having one conference room that can seat about 6 to 8 people, maybe a second smaller conference room if you have a really large organization. Client meetings can be done on Zoom or at a coffee shop, so you really don't need a lot of meeting space. Of course, it's also great to have a coffee, kitchenette space, but you don't need anything big there either. Just enough for like a Keurig, a microwave, and a fridge to hold all the leftover beer and wine from last week's office meeting. And that's it. That's your office. Keep it open and bright and modern looking. This will all encourage agent engagement and make it a space they genuinely want to go to, all while keeping your square footage to a minimum and therefore keeping your monthly office expense on the lower side. Whatever design you choose for your office, you must focus on maximizing efficiency when using this space. And there you have it. Those are the pros and cons of having an office for realtors. If you're an individual agent, just know you need an office less than you think you do. These days, businesses should be lean and mobile. Your phone and your laptop will do about 95% of the things you need to do, so there's very little you're going to do that you actually need a dedicated desk in an office for. As a broker or team leader, the office has its place. If you can go 100% virtual, you'll keep your expenses way down and either increase profitability, or you'll be able to put those funds to work in other ways, like lead generation or just higher splits for your agents. At the end of the day, even though I'm at a cloud brokerage and I absolutely don't believe you need an office to run a successful team or brokerage, I'm a huge fan of having an office. I've seen how, when properly run, they can build culture and enthusiasm among a large percentage of realtors. That increases agent recruitment and retention, and that's the name of the game. Okay, what are your thoughts? Do you go into an office every day? And if not, where do you do most of your work? Leave those in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Then share it with your coworkers so I can reach as many agents as possible and help you grow your businesses and avoid the costly mistakes I've made throughout my career. If you're interested in partnering with me at eXp Realty, you can click on the link in my description to my partner page so you can see some of the great benefits of teaming up with me, no matter where you're located, and the many benefits of eXp Realty. You can also head to my Calendly link to book a call with me directly to discuss partnering together, or just to talk through any problems you're having in your business right now. Again, my name is David Tortellini. I appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and I'll be back soon with a new video. Bye for now.